Section 2 is dress code updates, just to add in there that we don't allow offensive tattoos on staff and reasonably natural hair color. Section 4 was added resolution 2022-022 language, which was approved earlier this year, that the city administrator is allowed to offer and have part-time and seasonal staff start before the resolution goes to council, so that when we have seasonal staff or part-time liquor staff, they're not waiting 2 weeks to start when we need them to start right away. There's revised language in section 7, which is for non-exempt staff to earn compensatory time on weeks with holidays. So right now, staff cannot earn their 1.5 overtime or comp time, if you will, if there is a week that has a holiday tied to it, because it's not worked hours. And I was looking at other cities and the League of Minnesota Cities information on that, and they did recommend that the holiday section was removed from that, so that staff who work a 15-hour day for whatever reason, hourly staff that work maybe a 15-hour day, if there's a holiday that falls in that week, they still get their time and a half appropriately for that. Section 11 is, Section 9 was a 2019 resolution, 275 that was passed, and that was just adding the language for our HSA for our current benefit plan. It is now just in the policy manual rather than a separate resolution, so nothing new. Section 11, we had changed when staff right now are gone for, it's 5 days before we require a medical note from a doctor stating whether they can or cannot come back to work with or without medical restrictions, if they're still contagious, you know, can they stand on their foot, whatever it may be. We reduced that number to 3 days rather than most people aren't out for 5 days before we need a note. Sometimes 3 days is sufficient for needing that to know if they can come back to work and that they're safe to be here. And finally, section 14 is revise the meal reimbursement language for trainings to be included for out-of-state trainings. And right now, we have it broken out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a maximum reimbursement for meals. Alcohol is not included, but we just changed the verbiage so that it's $50 a day max, so that if someone wants to eat just one big meal and skip 2 other meals, the monetary amount has not changed. It's just saying that it can be $50 maxed, or it could be broken out in between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay. Any questions on the changes for the personnel policy?
Yeah, the tattoos and hair color, like a little more detail on that.
Right now, it's just not specific in our personnel policy. We do allow tattoos, but we want to make sure that it's clear that we don't have.
It's not so much the tattoo that's offensive. I think it's the hair color. That one doesn't make a darn bit of sense.
So
Natural hair color. I mean, how are you
reasonably natural. Some people,
How do you define that, though?
Yeah, right.
it's
Nobody
so
has
if
naturally green hair.
right, if somebody showed up with solid green hair one day, that would be something that we would ask them.
And that would be
What if they were
offensive
Irish?
to who?
I'm sorry, could you say that
Who would
again?
that be offensive to if you came in with pink hair? I mean,
It's allowing discretion by the supervisor if they felt like it was a problem.
I don't think they
For-
said
it's
offensive, they just
profession-
said
it's
natural-
for
natural hair
professionalism.
color. The offensive was the tattoo portion.
Yes,
Yeah.
the hair color is not offensive, that's for
Okay.
professionalism.
but just, people want to dye their hair. It's pretty popular these days, I guess. I don't know if we want to discriminate against them because they feel that they're happier with pink hair. I mean, if they're still doing their job and showing up to work every day on time, that's, I don't know.
You gotta go
That's
home.
that's a
I think
different
that's
story.
just,
also-
I don't know, I
also
think it's,
that-
that's kind of old school.
You gotta go home because you got pink hair.
I don't know,
You know?
I also think though, I think as an employer, you have the right to set a standard. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to express yourself with totally pink hair, but in the same breath, you know, you still have an image to withhold, you know, like people will call up, what's that, you know, city person doing with totally solid green hair? I mean, you know, do we, you know, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying some people would say, that's just totally weird. That doesn't look good on the city. That's, whether you put it in or not put it in, you still have a right to hold up a standard of what you want to.
But those standards have changed a lot over the last
Well, I'm not saying they
10,
haven't, but
15
I'm saying you
years.
still, as an employer, have a right to say, this is our standard. Do you want to be employed here or not?
Yeah.
I have no problem with that myself. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying.
Well, I
as an
understand
employer, I think an
standards.
employer has the right to do that.
I used to have my ear pierced in my employer. This was 30 years ago. My employer said I had to take it out.
Okay, well, that's, to me, that's his choice.
But that was 30 years ago.
I still think it's
So-
his choice. He could say, well, I'm not gonna hire you because you have an earring. I mean, I don't, is that even allowed by law? I don't even know. Jimmy, you hire more people than I do.
Hey, I
It's-
hire anybody and everybody.
It's,
If they got pink hair, green hair, it doesn't matter to me, I hire them.
I don't know, I just think that's kind of prehistoric way of looking at people.
I get what Paul's saying, though, I think,
But-
in this sense, we are a business and we are wanting to, you know, have a certain level of professionalism. I don't know, I mean, that's,
I mean, I get the offensive tattoos thing too.
And
If
about
someone- if someone
what
comes in with
declares-
a tattoo that says, I stand, he sucks, I mean, no, I'm just talking about the extreme here. I'm just talking
I'm
about
just,
the extreme. You
what's,
know,
who's gonna determine if it's offensive tattoo or not?
The supervisor?
She already said that. The supervisor decides that. I have no problem with them saying.
You don't want somebody coming in with a swastika on their forehead.
I mean, if someone had on
Yeah,
their.
I get that,
If someone
but-
had a swastika right here,
Well, then you
and we
have to
want
kind of
to
generalize it in order to cover
It's
it.
a problem generalizing everybody.
I think if someone has, let's say they just had it right here, I would say, you can work here, but you're gonna cover that tattoo of it.
We're gonna be damned if we do and damned if we don't.
And we don't make people cover up their tattoos currently or anything like that. I think it is the extreme cases. If someone had FU on the forehead, do we want that to be
Right.
front counter? I
Well,
think is where she's
yeah.
getting at.
I would imagine that would probably, that application or during that interview, he probably wouldn't get hired.
But it's
But-
not just for people being hired. If we currently had a staff
current.
member, Ms. Strand chose to go on a hiatus for a weekend, and she got some graphic thing tattooed on her forehead, we would still love her, but do we want that to be the image of Isani? It's, that, I think that's.
She
what
would
she's
have to
getting
wear
at.
a bandana every day that she came to work, so.
I think for allowing it to be the discretion
got a
of the
wild
staff. I mean,
son.
I think it makes a difference if you're public works and you have green hair versus if you're the person at the front counter. I don't know, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it depends on if you're interacting with the public on a regular basis too, or, I think if you're leaving it up to the discretion of the
Right.
supervisor, that maybe is
I
a
just-
safe bet to.
The gal at Coburn's, that friendly gal, she checked me out at the register. She had pink hair this
Yeah,
weekend,
Well, Jimmy just said he'd hire anybody, but,
you know?
I mean,
Megan had pink hair when I first started dating her, and that was one of the things that I liked about her. So, you know, I mean, that doesn't mean anything about a person. It's just, does your supervisor feel that is the level of professionalism that you want, you know?
I get what you're saying, but I personally, and this isn't against anybody with pink hair, I don't think I'd hire somebody for my front desk with pink hair. I mean, just because professionalism. I mean, I'm not saying that person isn't professional, I'm just saying that's not the image I want to portray, you know? So, you know, like you say, you probably wouldn't even offer them a job at that point in time if they came in with FU across their forehead and, you know.
Okay. On another note,
Okay.
discussion items for recruitment retention.
So I have, these are all just items to think about to be added in. So per direction from the 2022 goal-setting meeting back January 24th of this year, just a lot's happened this year, and so I've kind of taken staff's opinion into consideration, researched my own things, talked to other cities, just looked into some other options that are still fiscally responsible but could provide a benefit to our staff for retention purposes. So I did come up with 4 things. And Oh, sorry, 5. So the first one is Take the Kids to Work Day. So what Take the Kids to Work Day is, it's a national event that allows employees to bring their children to the workplace during the duration of the day. And this event occurs annually on the 4th Tuesday of April. Due to children attending school in April, the city of Isani would like to recognize this day in the summer months so that children do not miss school. In 2018, over 3.5 million workplaces participated in Take Your Kids to Work Day, and this event would take place in the summer here at Isani. The day would just be discretion of the city administrator and staff for what works, that it's not like in the middle of Jubilee days or something like that. So if that is something that council would like to entertain to allow staff to do that, that is one option. Do you have any questions on that?
I don't have a problem with that, I guess.
I think
We're
it'd be
already doing
cool.
it now, right? You're just asking to change the,
I think it'd be cool. Bring your kid to work day.
It's beneficial for staff to know what their or for staff's kids to know what their parents do all day when they're gone. And just, even a simple job shadow of what are you gonna be when you grow up. They can see what it's like to be on the local government side of things and see the different areas here, so. Thank you. The next one, this was requested by an employee, because a nearby city does this already, but staff right now, full-time staff, have a sick leave bank, and it has been requested to use our sick bank time for wellness, and that would include health club membership, behavior modification programs, smoking cessation, weight loss, stress management. So we can come up with more detail, but when people have enough accrued in their sick banks, if they would like to use some of their time for personal wellness, that they would be able to get reimbursement for that, with approval, of course.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea.
Would that include a hot tub purchase?
We can get into the details when I work on the policy for it.
Only if it came before council.
If you want
That's what I
that,
would, that's what I would go for.
if you want that to be in there, you can definitely recommend it.
Just Liz house.
He's reaching.
Personal wellness.
The next is the sick leave cap. Right now, staff they're allowed to have their sick bank leaves capped at 480 hours. And a lot of nearby cities and counties allow their staff to accrue much higher, and a lot of staff use it as a form of short-term disability. So instead of purchasing short-term disability insurance, which can get quite costly, staff just like to keep their sick banks at a higher level. So if they were to get injured and they're out for, 4 months, they're able to keep their paychecks covered with work comp leave. So, or even if it's not work comp related, they are still able to keep their paychecks going until they can come back. So if you have desire to allow the sick banks to be capped at a higher level, to be more competitive with our other nearby communities,
Katie,
that
do
would
we
be
have?
something.
I've heard
Do
too,
we already
some,
purchase disability insurance for the?
Staff purchase their own disability insurance.
So would that help replace that then? Is that what?
Yeah, well, the cost of short-term disability can be, $36 a month. So if they didn't have to pay for that per month. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's actually per paycheck, not per month. So over $60 a month.
Check, as I said.
Yeah, so it'd be over $60 a month for short-term disability. And if we allowed people to just have a higher sick bank, they would be less likely to be paying for short-term disability each month.
oh, yeah, I've heard, also some employees will allow you to use, like if you're retiring and you got, let's say, 1,200 hours of sick time, they'll allow you, if you choose to use that to help pay for your health insurance,
To continue?
to continue like a Cobra plan or whatever,
Yes, we do have options like that when staff leave.
So instead of costing the individual, isn't that gonna cost the city money?
well, it's money that, it's days that they've already earned from the hours they've put in.
Correct, it's not changing their accrual rate, sorry. I'll speak.
Right,
It's
yeah.
not changing the accrual rate, it's just allowing them, instead of hitting the cap at 480, you'd be able to go up higher, like I know Cambridge, well, at least they were, unless they changed it, the last year was 960, others is 1,260.
I've seen some.
They get paid out when they hit that cap at 50%. So instead of, maybe we give them the option, do you want to get paid out, or do you want to allow that to go higher? So we still do, we have an expense when they hit that. This would allow them to, instead of paying them out, allow them to go up, to bank it.
So like if
It's not changing the accrual rate.
I had 800 hours sick time and I decided to retire, they would pay me 400 and I would lose the other 400.
Correct, that's how ours is too.
Yeah, it's a 50% payout.
As
But
long as you've been
unless-
with the city for 5 years. If it's under 5 years, you don't get paid out anything.
But I also, some cities, well, employees, I should say, employers, some will, if, instead of losing half, if you were to put that into like your Cobra plan or help pay for your health insurance or whatever, that'd be another way that they could use that instead of just losing it all, you know.
I guess on this item and the last one too, I would rather see us just leave it the way that it is.
Because if you, I've been in that position before, where I was basically on medical leave for an accident and not work comp related. It would happen outside of work, but I ended up running out of sick time, but I still couldn't go back to work. Now, if I would have been able to bank more sick time, I would have been able to make my house payment, buy groceries, do the things I need to do, you know.
Because you're legitimately hurt.
Right, but we still
Yeah.
have 480 hours of time that can be accrued is a lot of time.
Mayor and council, I know we're running out of time. Staff would like to request to bring this back next committee of the whole.
I think
for
it's a good
further
idea.
Discussion for those last, maybe recruitment retention items.
Good idea. Anything else we need to add?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilman Burgley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0, therefore we stand adjourned.